Elon Musk, the CEO of SpaceX, is already the richest person on the Earth, but now he is expanding his dominance in space too. His Starlink is expanding to new horizons, and due to this, he's facing pressures from multiple countries, including China and Russia. But why is there such a feeling of discontent within the governments of other countries? And can they do anything to stop Musk? Well, let's see. China and Russia have warned Elon Musk that they will destroy his satellites, but the billionaire entrepreneur has some tricks up his sleeves too. The Chinese government is so concerned about the Starling satellites that they are currently formulating strategies to eliminate them. Russia is subject to the same conditions. Because of the current circumstances, Russia as a whole views Musk as one of the most significant adversaries. After all, it is common knowledge that during the crisis between Russia and Ukraine, the billionaire took the side of Ukraine and granted full access to his Starlink satellites to the Ukrainian government. This step alone made him an obvious target. The American billionaire and owner of SpaceX stated that Russia's escalating efforts to block communications are being resisted by the Starlink satellite internet network. A graphic of the flag of Ukraine was included as an illustrative aid to his message. According to the tweet, the Starlink satellite communications network is holding its own against the aggression of the Russian government. Already in the early stages of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the aggressor nation attempted to obliterate the signal coming from the Starlink satellites by using excessive noise. In addition to it, a hacking assault was launched on the Viasat network. During his fight, hackers affiliated with the Kremlin continued their attempts to get into the network. However, they failed. At this point, not only the military personnel serving on the front lines, but also members of the general populace make use of these devices. Analysts estimate that there are currently more than 150,000 subscribers of the Starlink service in Ukraine. As a result, the nation is now one of the largest consumers of this cutting-edge communication service in the entire world. It is a distinct possibility that the attacks on the network are also a kind of personal retaliation on the part of the aggressors, disguised as a means of preventing Ukraine from descending into informational anarchy. According to the most current information that has been made public, Rogozin, the leader of Roscosmos, holds a special hatred for Musk. He also has allegedly already threatened the billionaire. But the Russians are not the only ones Musk is pissed off. The Chinese military also has concerns regarding the potential risk the Starlink purposes. According to what has been voiced by the researchers, the constellation presumably represents a threat to military operations. Some people even conclude that Elon must have had some sort of ulterior motive for interfering with the Chinese space program. According to some reports, it is important for China to create countermeasures that can destroy satellites in the event that they pose a threat to the country's national security. Well, it's recommended that a mix of soft and severe means of destruction be used so that some of the Starlink satellites would lose their operation and cause the constellations to be destroyed. An essay that was originally published in the Chinese journal Modern Defense Technologies of China is being translated into the operating system. Ringu Engine, a researcher at the Beijing Institute of Tracking and Telecommunications, which was supported by the Chinese state, acted as the study's primary investigator and leader. The researchers noticed that Starlink has close ties with the United States military. This is evidenced by financing from the United States Air Force. Remember that Elon Musk also provided access to his satellites to the Army of Ukraine, which exploited these satellites for military purposes. Starlink unquestionably provides an advantage from space to whatever side possesses it. And in contrast to more conventional elements of the telecommunications infrastructure, such as relay stations and underwater cables, Starlink satellites are more difficult to deactivate. In April, Russia even attempted to disable Starlink through the use of an electromagnetic weapon, but they were unsuccessful. In spite of the fact that China already possesses technology such as microwave jammers, targeted lasers and ballistic missiles that may disable traditional satellites, the document notes that the Starlink constellation does not concern individual satellites, but rather the system as a whole. There are already more than 2,300 operational Starlink satellites in orbit, and the company intends to build a constellation of satellites with a total strength of 42,000. If you think about it, this number is just too much to concentrate at once. Both Russia and China have a horrifying fear of this. The fact that the system is able to continue operating normally despite the loss of certain satellites makes Starlink practically immune. The Chinese government asserts that it has already created a large number of ground-based laser systems that are capable of taking photographs of orbiting satellites with a resolution of millimeters. But the country should also be able to collect signals from each Starlink satellite in order to detect any potential threat in addition to optical and radar imagery. Russia also carried out trials with anti-satellite missiles. Additionally, it is working hard to upgrade its SP satellites, but because of the sanctions that have been placed on it, its hands are mostly restricted in this endeavor. Both China and Russia have demonstrated that they are capable of destroying a satellite using a rocket. However, this technique can result in a significant amount of space debris. In addition, if the system is comprised of a large number of individual satellites that are relatively low in cost, the price will be prohibitively expensive. Now, despite this, Russia has made the threat to destroy Starlink satellites because Elon Musk is a supporter of Ukraine. However, regarding the dangers faced by Starlink, Elon Musk is not much worried. According to his statements, his company can launch satellites quicker than China and Russia can shoot them down. It is now obvious why the business owner is maintaining such a level head despite the circumstances. He has already established himself as a key figure in issues pertaining to cosmonautics and has prepared them. Elon Musk responded to a large number of questions concerning the current situation in Ukraine during an extensive interview with Business Insider. In response to these queries, he initially produced the Starlink satellite internet system in the very early days of the conflict. If you attempt to disable Starlink, you will have a difficult time doing so because we already have almost 2,000 satellites in orbit. This translates to a significant number of anti-satellite missiles. I really hope that we won't have to put my theory to the test in the real world, but I believe that we will be able to launch satellites at a rate that is faster than their anti-satellite missiles can bring them down. A decentralized administration is in place inside the Starlink constellation. It is not the individual satellites that are at issue in this conflict, but rather the system as a whole. China has stated that the United States is endangering its astronauts by disregarding its commitments as outlined in many space treaties. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that China demands responsible behavior from the United States. Accordingly to the United Nations Outer Space Treaty, nations are accountable for all actions that take place in outer space, including those carried out by non-governmental organizations. Scientists have voiced their concern about the possibility of collisions in space and have asked the governments of the world to cooperate in the dissemination of information regarding the approximately 30,000 satellites and other objects in space that are now orbiting the globe. Elon Musk does not have any issues with rockets, and the fact that there are such a large number of Starlink satellites systems combined with their flexibility makes it highly secure. Because he has such a strong grasp on the space industry, Elon Musk is in a position to eliminate his competitors' spacecraft all by himself. In the event that these concerns are not resolved on Earth, the clash in space has the potential to result in something very severe.